We got Yuri Neyman and ASC, and he's got a huge history here, and we're going to let him introduce himself a little bit and talk about that. We have Rachel. How you doing, Rachel?
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I am watching the chat today to pick up all of your questions while we watch the show together. So if you have anything you'd like to talk about or any questions for Yuri or the guys, pop it in the chat and I will make sure we talk about it.
Great. One thing that I always forget to say, and somebody put in the comments one time, is where is everybody? So we're here in Chicago. Yuri, I'm assuming you're in LA, right?
Yes.
And Rachel's in Arizona.
And who are you?
Yeah.
I'm Steve.
Oh.
Oh, and you're yes. Yeah. So let's put up that picture and that you have in the computer there, and we'll show them what we're talking about today. But it's called essentially modern cinematography or global cinematography, and you and I have talked about this problem a million times in post, where it's like, you know, in the 80s, you used to have 9 people in a post suite. You had an editor, you had a tape operator, you had a Chiron operator, you had all these people. And nowadays, what bothers us is that, you know, you're expected to be able to do all these jobs. You have to be an animator, and you have to be an editor, and you have to be, you know, you have to do your own audio. You have to do everything. And what's lost in that process that's kind of bothering me is what all the other people bring to that
the collaboration.
Table. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
other ideas.
Exactly.
Right.
So Yuri, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? How do you feel about that when, now you're working obviously on large crews and things like that, but how does that make you feel?
Well, we all know that nature of cinematography changed many times in history, starting from when cameras started to move, starting from the moment when sound was introduced, when color was introduced, when TV as a legitimate genre was introduced. And all this period of time, work of cinematographer changed. Now we have just simply another revolution or another development in work of cinematographer based on digital technology and virtual reality technology. It is not discussion film or digital, it's past, it's passé. We're talking about the fact that cinematographer now became not only one author of the images. If before only DP was in charge of everything related to imagery, now it is more like teamwork of many people, where DP, in normal understanding of the word, just part of this. What we're doing in our school, what we for the last 7 years, and what already happening, that we consider director of photography now became director of imaging, when he is in charge of all aspects of image making. And evolution of cinematography now reminds a little bit evolution of photography. Now everybody is photographer, because we have iPhone cameras and everybody can make a very nice picture. Like if we remember Days of Heaven 4 years ago, to make wonderful magic hour it was a task. Now everybody can make this kind of picture with modern technology. What I'm saying, director of photography becoming a director of images, and he needs to understand all aspects of image making. Don't forget that last 7 years, films which got Oscar for cinematography and in parallel as visual effects, because nobody still can decide exactly where is cinematography ends and when visual effects starts, and vice versa. So it is the biggest challenge now in the world of cinematography.
That's an interesting topic, because, you know, you and I have said before that, you know, sometimes it's like when we used to do, you know, photography, cinematography, everything was in camera. We lit it. It was beautiful. Now, like Yuri said, you get these kids and they're taking their phone out and they're manipulating the picture, and it's like you look at their photo and it's stellar. It's a stellar photo. And it's like, and I look at it, I'm like, well, is that count? Because it's, you know, they didn't really light it. They added depth of field after the fact, and all the things that we used to do to make a beautiful image.
In camera, they've done after?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, can you call that a photograph anymore? I know Yuri's probably, let's hear what Yuri has to say.
I think you can, though.
Well, people doing images, We can call it photograph or we can do it image. Basically, very soon we start calling ourselves image makers because it's not pure photography and not pure cinematography. Important part is now more and more important is what your image is expressing. Because everybody now, with help of technology, can make more or less what I call accurate images, which are from traditional point of view very nice. But 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, any of these images would be considered, wow, this is something special. Now, thanks to technology, it's not so difficult to make these images. My grandma can make such images. Issue is what this image expressing. And now we're coming back, what is cinematography all about? And cinematography all about art of cinematography, not as much as craft of cinematography. In our school we have kids 18 years old who asking, do not explain us anymore such elementary things. I learned it from internet 5 years ago when I was 10 years old or something. I need to know how to express myself in imagery. This is the biggest challenge now.
Wow.
And what our school is doing. When we start
Well, first off, I didn't know that your grandmother was such a great photographer, so that's good to know. But anyways, so I want to ask you about your school. Jens and I were having this conversation. You don't take this the wrong way, okay? Because this is meant as a compliment. But it's like Vilmos and you kind of started this whole movement, which we thought some real young person would have been doing. I mean, it's like we took two sort of I don't want to say older folks, but you're leading the way in this idea of technology where I would have thought a young person would have been doing that. Uh-oh. Okay, well, here we go. We lost Yuri. We're going to get him back. So we'll talk a little bit about it. But
actually, in the meantime, guys, we've been having in the comments, we took a slight little side bend off one of Yuri's comments here about who uses film and still using film. And we started talking about Tarantino, and Bill Dobbins here has got a comment about Tarantino's a very specialized filmmaker. He uses 70 millimeter as a kind of special effect. Not people who make commercial movies on a regular basis aren't going to be using film.
The person whom you're trying to reach is
wow, interesting.
I think I might have
his
lost
mic
something.
down. No, you're good. Okay,
I'm good.
I want to
Okay,
address
good.
that
What do you
question.
guys think about using, getting that film look that we were talking about?
I want to
these
address that
days?
question because they didn't. Yuri actually said this. It doesn't really matter what your acquisition format is, and we've been saying this for years. So back to that person's question. The whole idea of this is, I know people are sort of fascinated that, Tarantino or Spielberg, shot The Post on film. Again, why does it matter? It's like, we always get back to the story, It's like, forget about this acquisition format. It really doesn't matter. If that's what he wants for the grittiness of his film.
It's an aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tool. That's all it is.
Right.
Now they're probably going to hammer me in the comments right now. But that's the truth of it. I mean, we used to work on film, and sometimes the budget allowed for it, and sometimes when we did fashion work, we had a lot of print type stuff, and when you put it on interlace NTSC, it had these weird vibrate, mores, and we had to work on film.
But film really now, these days, is a digital medium. It gets transferred
Exactly.
anyway, and then you're in a digital world anyway. So it's really almost like using a different kind of filtration. It's just an aesthetic at the front end. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. We've got a comment here from Moses as well, who just says that shooting film is crazy expensive, which is true. It's just often cost prohibitive.
I don't know about that. I would disagree with that because, and this is why, you can really get, first off, you can get the film gear for like a 1 day, every 2 week rental. I mean, I was going to say a 1 day week, but I don't even know how to say a 1 day, 2 week rental. But so you can get the film super cheap. And we were talking with Steven Fierberg about this because he shot Entourage on film. And then you can get amazing deals on film and processing. And then, like you said, it's the transfer to video. So it's not, it was only like $100,000 more, I think he said, to shoot Entourage on film.
The whole series, you mean?
No, I'm talking about the Entourage movie.
Oh, the movie, right. Got
So it's really, I mean, again, $100,000 depending on what kind of production you're doing, but for a Hollywood feature, that's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What was the specific question, Rachel?
It was more just a general chat about it. We've got Bill Dobbins here with a new sort of comment who says that shooting digital means you get to see your footage immediately. There's no waiting for lab processing, so that it is cheaper. There really is some difference between film and digital, but as technology develops, this difference is definitely going away.
Yeah, so the idea is you know, they're saying to me and Jens, whether you work on film or video is really no different, because you're going to transfer the film to digital anyways. It's just a different sort of, Jens calls it a filter, I call it a texture.
Well, it's an aesthetic difference.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, let's just imagine if you would ask any great painter what kind of paint and what kind of brush he used, probably he will be very unhappy. Let's start this discussion what tools we're using. We're using tools available for us, okay? Important part is how we use this tool. In one of my first interview about Liquid Sky in 83, and somebody asked me, what kind of dolly you use? I said, doesn't matter. I use dolly available to my budget. Please ask me why I use the dolly. Same as here. It doesn't matter. Film using or you use digital. After all, nobody cares. What people care, what you are expressing with your images. Do you know Greg Toland equipment list was 24 items, 24 only. Today, my average list for, or anybody's average list of equipment, 5 pages. Okay, it doesn't matter. And don't forget that Citizen Kane was B movie, and he used B lenses and B camera. Because, okay, so it does, who cares? We're talking about totally different challenges now. That we are, from technological point of view, it is not a big deal to create image. Everybody can do it, even have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
Question is, if image signifies something, which is we live in the world of Instagram. We are in the world of 7 billion images produced every year, whatever. Okay? So images of amateur and images of artists and professional are different. They're expressing something. And what we're teaching in our school, how to express these images, know how to make images. Everybody knows how to make images. And we're taking in our school people who are already knows technology. We're not explaining in depth of the field or how to do this or how to that. They assumingly know, and we're testing them before they come in school. We're teaching them how to start to express yourself.
Okay.
It doesn't matter with film or digital or iPhone. Wonderful films done on iPhone like Tangerine, Sean Baker, or other people. It doesn't matter. Nobody would ask what lens they used.
Oh, yeah,
Everybody would.
That's funny.
Yes.
That's the same line from our Light and Shadow. We had Victor Kemper that said, "No one in Hollywood is going to ask what camera you use. Don't worry about it." You know, it gets back to, you know, it's more about talent. But okay, I want to shift the conversation a wee bit. I mean, we're going to have a separate show about your grandmother and the quality of her work.
Please do. Please
Totally
do.
separate show, because I want to see her work, and I'm sure she's an incredible photographer, cinematographer. But I want to get back to Vilmos and you. How did you decide to start this school, and when did you start it?
Okay, idea of the school came to me a long time ago because I've been teaching in AFI, UCLA. My first work in the United States after Liquid Sky was New York University. So, and I'm teaching, and when I taught in AFI, I taught history of cinematography there. And I felt that people who teaching technology only and teaching technology existing for a long time, basically creating in some degree, well, line of people who fighting for jobs because they cannot bring anything, they cannot deliver anything new from technological point of view or artistic point of view. And I start to think with some of my students from AFI and some of the people from my company, Gamma Density, about what kind of school it's supposed to be. And then we, with them, formulated idea of expanded cinematography. Okay, and then we start to talk to people and everything else. And then I got a call from Vilmos, and I met with him in Budapest, and he told me, Yuri, I've heard you doing something with, you have new kind of school, because he was kind of disappointed also with education, because he had classes in Budapest Film School. And said, yes, and I explained him what school's about and everything else. And he thought, well, you look like you're doing good things. Would you like us work together? I said, sure, absolutely, because I knew Vilmos for a long time, as basically, as a fellow cinematographer and with more or less similar experience running from Soviet system, one way or another. And then we started school in 2011. We did announcement about starting school at Camera Marsh. Okay, and we got very nice article in Variety. And then our first class was in the beginning of 2012. So our classes is relatively small, 15 people, and they continue only for 2 weeks, very intense, 10 hours a day. Again, all our students are already cinematographers, or they are very good graduates from some film schools, from many film schools.
Okay, so it's definitely a master's type program like AFI?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Okay, our class is 2 weeks only. 2 weeks.
Oh, so it's more like a main workshop type thing.
Well, difference is it is not workshop when very often. Workshop has subjects not really tight connected to each other. We have a curriculum when everything is crossed over. When each class correlates with different class. And teachers in one class correlates with teaching from different class. It is kind of, I would say, hopefully well thought program. It is a curriculum when everything depends from each other. Okay. It's what we call expanded cinematography, yeah.
Okay, so first off, I want people to know about these classes. Are they in LA? Where are they? And is there some type of, do you have to take a look at the work or what they've done, their portfolio, reel?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, yes. We have a website, www.globalcinematography.com. We have our weekly newsletter, which we're publishing all announcements, we're publishing work of students, we're publishing biographies of our teachers, guest teachers. We're publishing a lot of articles about history of cinema, history of cinematography, history of art, everything related to our educational process.
Okay, and it's in LA? The classes are taught in LA?
Yes, yeah. Classes are in LA because in LA we have a small studio which we conducting our classes, and in LA you have best pool of best teachers.
Okay, and what are you looking for in students?
First of all, ability to be creative. We look at the work. We look at them basically their technical experience, because we really don't like to explain the depth of the field again or exposure again. Sometimes it's happened, but most important, we see the creative potential. And as much as we can judge, because sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not right. It's all, for example, from my class in VGIK in Moscow Film School, VGIK, which was considered then one of the best cinematography school, from class of 15 people, maybe only 3, me including, became cinematographers, because cinematography requires a lot of qualities, and not only knowledge of cinematography.
I want to ask you a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I just want to keep it flowing here because there's going to be a lot of questions that we want to get into.
Please do. Sure.
So, I don't know how to say this, but this is something that just bugs us all the time, is that so many young people today, they get a DSLR, and I just want to get your feedback on this. And, it used to be that we would come into a scene, Jens and I, and we would light the scene and then we would add our practicals, or we would light to fake our practicals. Now, you kind of turn these cameras on and everything you can light with the practicals, and we kind of feel that young people have sort of lost the art of lighting.
Because you still need to arrange your practicals and sculpt the light, even if you're using light that's on the scene. That's what I don't think that they understand.
Right, and you go on.
Again, bottom line is, for me at least, for us here, and because what you're lighting for. There's a style now, which thanks to digital technology, you can light with very, very low amount of the light, which is very, very fashionable now, okay? Obviously, you don't need to light because it's already lit. It's a dream of all many cinematographers centuries, like dozen years ago, to spend less time on lighting because it's mostly time consuming, and do something else. So, important part of what are you lighting for and what are you making images for? Because again, I remember when I saw first time great color photography in exhibition. Fact that it is in color was shocking. Okay, nobody can be shocked today by color or anything else. Basically, all what we are dealing with a lot of young filmmakers and for students ours and other schools, they lost direction of why they became a cinematographer, because it's like fashionable profession, very likely a lot, they can put a leather jacket, scarf, hat with a C or whatever, and they cinematographers. Well, it became fashionable. It is happening all the time. So like in the 30s to be a pilot was fashionable, and in the 70s, 80s to be a director was fashionable. Now, because you can have a camera, you became a cinematographer. But what is happening when we see people who not only making a picture, but like to express something with picture, in this case, it's less relevant if they light it or they use available light. But if you expressing something, but expression requires a talent and understanding of art. It's what we're basically teaching. We'd like to connect most modern technology, virtual cinematography, with tradition of art. This is basically main concept of our school, how to express yourself with modern technology in cinematography.
Yeah, that's a good point, because...
You guys, we've got an interesting comment here that I'd like you guys' take on. Bill says that DPs don't exist in a vacuum. You need access to lights, the help of a capable crew, studios, locations, props, stylists. In many ways, the job of the cinematographer is the easiest of anyone. What do you guys think about that?
That's harsh. Yuri?
Well, again, let me give you a sample of very small but wonderful film, Tangerine. Okay, you know this film shot on iPhone 5, but Sean Blake, great director. He has crew of 2 people and 3 iPhones, and no crew at all of anything else. He did wonderful film. Okay, and we have no names. It's a big show. We have this 1,000 crews, and you have nothing to look on the screen. Work of cinematographer is not crew and not a scale. It is adjective. The noun of cinematography is what is your image is all about. Why are you doing this image? Okay, and basically, best cinematographers, which we consider best irrelevantly if they got Oscar, not got Oscar, and everything else, and their films are forever because their films are expressing something. Look at Citizen Kane. In 1941, people didn't give this film Oscar for cinematography. They gave it to very good cinematographers, solid, old Hollywood cinematographer, Miller, for film which everybody forget how great was by Valley. And what? It was forgotten next year, sorry. And nobody cares if Greg Toland got Oscar or not. Who cares? Same is is Easy Rider of Lashlikovich, or with Almendros of dozens and dozens films.
Yeah.
What you expressing? And very funny note, when Nestor Mendes worked with Malik on Days of Heaven in Canada, crew complained to whatever studio it was, I believe Warner or somebody, why we inviting these cinematographers, amateurs, who doesn't know how to work with big lights? He's working only with small lights and we're sitting doing nothing. It is a fact. It's written in his book. It was written in American Cinematographer. Crew complained about something, which is interesting. Well, probably after Oscars, they put their tongue in proper place. But, okay?
Okay.
So,
well, here, I'm going to move on a little bit here, because...
Okay, go ahead.
It's a really interesting point you bring up, because I do know somebody on the internet that we've promoted a lot who made iPhone movies, and they were, we're talking an iPhone 4 movies, remember?
Yeah.
But the movie that I always stick in my mind is this movie, The Celebration, where the guy shot it with less than an iPhone. It was in standard def. And
Yes.
but it was incredible. It's like
about the story again.
it was
and about
all
what you're
about
trying to
the
express,
story.
like he says.
Well, yeah, but it was even more. The camera moves they did, they like screwed the camera onto 2x4s and kind of moved it around. And it was just so powerful. I mean, because after the first 2 seconds, you just didn't care. You know, Jens and I often say if the sound is great and the picture's crappy, that may be a creative choice. But you can never have shitty sound. Shitty sound is unbearable. How do you feel about that?
About shitty sound?
Yeah, we're saying a shitty picture may be a creative choice, but shitty sound is never a creative choice.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And you can recognize a low-budget film by its sound. Because you can have great cinematography for no budget and shitty cinematography on a big budget. But sound is what people understand. Not everybody understands imagery well, but sounds everybody understands. From other side, when you're saying it's a story, I would respectfully disagree. It is existing only 36 dramatic situations in the world, from Greek tragedy to latest film. Only 36 dramatic situations. And what cinematographer does, it is like basically a packaging job. He'd like to put nice bow, nice wrapping paper, and present story differently. And when director is looking for cinematographer, boy loves girl, girl doesn't love boy. Okay, fine. And he needs cinematographer who can put this story in today's contemporary context with contemporary images, that nobody will mistaken things happened in 2018, not in 2012 or not 2000 at all. So story is important to have good story, but story today is only part of the deal. What would be Close Encounter of the Third Kind if Vilnius didn't put such a great imagery, for which he was almost fired, not once? What would be story of his another film, My Cabby Miss Miller, for which he was actually fired, and Altman refused to work with anybody who will be replacing him. And Vilnius for Close Encounter was almost replaced due to whatever intrigues, because he'd like to he'd like to do totally new approach to imagery, and films became so well accepted and known in many regards thanks to his imagery, or again, Easy Rider.
Right. Well, let's talk about camera movement.
Film.
Let's move to camera movement
Go
a little
ahead.
bit, because I was watching, one of Ted Chung's videos the other day. This one, Mike, it's called, and it's just a short little video. But what makes the thing so powerful? There's like this point where you literally want to cry, because at this right moment, he just does this very slight move in, the sort of Spielberg move in from a lower angle, a hero type move in on this person. And that,
Evoked emotion.
That evoked emotion. Or when you shot Haskell that one time, and he's starting to get into this, you could see his eyes watering up, and you're zooming into his eyes. That evoked emotion. And it's like we've often said that everything in that frame has to express what you're talking about. The light, the movement, everything. Yuri, how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel very positive about it. Basically, it takes talent. Well, it's a
But
talent.
it takes an
It's because-
idea. It takes an idea is what it takes. And that's what made this kid's little short film so great, because he knew when to do that.
He used the frame and
Okay.
the image to help tell and emote that emotion or whatever
Right.
it may be.
And the interesting part is, when also in our light and shadow piece, Conrad Hall said, he's like, I can't tell you how to do what I do. I just do what I know what to do. He goes, I can't teach that. That's me. He goes, you need to figure out what you do, and that's you.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, again, idea is only have product. What idea you're doing with talented person and non-talented person is a difference. Talented person, artistically endowed person, can hear ideas, feel ideas, and express it in artistic way. Non-talented person express it in very obvious way. It's very simple. Okay, so you cannot teach to be artist, but you can teach don't be afraid of your artistic instincts.
That's great.
Yeah, and this is all after you've learned the mechanics of everything. I mean, you might know all that stuff, but if you can't use it creatively, it's for a waste, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we basically did a whole little short film about this, which
Yeah.
is, is creativity born or made?
Yeah.
So, I mean, half the people. Actually, I want to
No,
ask Yuri that.
is the cinematographer
Yeah.
born or made was the question.
Yeah, the question was, in this short film that we made, is a cinematographer born or made?
Born and made. Okay,
That's what a lot of people say.
Hold a second. Hold a second. It's two separate things. You can be very good, competent cinematographer, know all technology, to make right focus, exposure, know every cable and every stuff, and make what I called very accurate pictures, which might not always touch anybody else except cinematographer and his family.
Right.
And your grandmother. And your grandmother.
No doubt about it. And but even if you know nothing, even if you know nothing, but you have feeling toward the subject, you kind of start to feel attached to the subject. Somehow, by mystery of world, you know right exposure, and you know right focus, and you know how to move camera. Because you became in sync with idea. I remember, like in my film school in Moscow, I spoke with one young guy who did very good film about young conscripts going to Russian army, and it was very, very dramatic scene, and very, as always. And he did a wonderful film, and he was just like, I was in first year, he was in second year, and I asked him, how you work at it, very complex, changing light, but everything was in focus, everything was in right exposure. He said, I don't know, I was so involved in this. Somebody led my hand change exposure and change focus. It's one of the best explanation.
That's kind of an interesting topic, that we've talked about with some friends, like Rodney Charters, and one of the issues that faces a DP today is, where is your job end? Because it's like you shoot, a log image, and then all of a sudden, somebody takes it away, and his concern is always, I don't know what's going to happen in post, and you and I have had conversations about baking stuff, which we do all the time, because we don't like editors and image processors and all these people, Yuri, when you're doing a scene, I mean, it would be nice if they would pay the DP to be in post.
Depends on the size of the production. Sometimes you're doing it all yourself.
Right, but we're talking about
shows.
If you're doing it all yourself, you don't have this issue.
Right.
The problem is when you're working on a film or a TV show and they take your images away. How do you shoot to know that they're not going to screw you in the post?
Well, you have to be aware that you will be screwed if you will not resist. People are paid now for post, but only those people who are not afraid to raise the questions. A lot of cinematographers, unfortunately, a little bit too shy to force their right.
Right.
Oh, if I will ask this guy, I will never work in this town again. or I will never eat breakfast in this town again. A lot of people like this understand. When they feel not very comfortable about themselves, they decide to keep low profile, otherwise this producer will never hire me again. Well, it is happening very often, and no matter what, it is happening in every country and every industry. Basically, but people who feel very strong about themselves and very strong about their art and craft, they basically asking to be part of post-production. In this case, their best ally is the director, if he is not chicken.
Well, I know some
Directors
DPs just do it for free because they're so
Yes.
You know, I mean, I know
Yes.
Jens, you wanted to ask a question.
Well, no, not a question, but it's a comment on this. When I was hanging out with Rodney on Shameless,
Yeah.
he was describing, I was asking him these same questions, and he said, what I have to do and what I do all the time, and he's a friendly guy, he forges great relationships with the guys who are doing this in post, starting with the guy that's on location there. And he's shooting stuff on his iPhone and kind of showing them what his intent was, and so that helps carry it through post, even though he's not getting paid to do that end of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's one way to kind of do it if you have that, that relationship with the post-production.
Well, the
people,
issue is that he's doing TV.
Yeah.
So TV, you can't be running. You're working and working and working every day, so he can't be running into the post suite.
Exactly.
But he had figured out that his iPad was his reference.
Yeah.
And or his phone, I don't remember what it was, and he was like, okay, I figured out that what it's going to look like on my phone and what it's going to look like on the TV. So that they were sending him images back to his phone, and by he would know, or his iPad, that how it would look. I mean, again,
it's a reference.
This is TV. You don't get that option to run in there every day because you're working, 14, 16-hour days for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so first of all, I know Rodney very well, and I know Rodney for exactly the same subject we're discussing. I am an inventor, and got 2 patents of the first ever unset color correction system called 3CP. And Rodney was my client. So which allowed to people to dial up image on the color, and send it to colorist suite. It was called 3CP Gamma Dance Company. So I know this. I invented this system a long time ago for myself. I wrote this program, and then it became popular, and the people start to ask me to give me a copy, and then basically I organize a company. I have thousands of clients still who using 3CP. So Rodney Charter, I know he was one of the best clients. He understood immediately. So I know him very well, and we in our system allows to send images to your iPhone, calibrated iPhone with our software, or iPad, or whatever, and then you can send it to pipeline of the color correction suite. Well, it means, but Rodney always took care about his images, like many other people. So I know basically practically all cinematographers in the world who do care about images, because they bother to contact me and say, Yuri, what do you have? I'd like to take care about my images, even if I'm in different production now. So it depends on you. If you do care, you will find a way.
Yeah.
Different way. With system, without system. I remember conversation with one very famous cinematographer, a good friend of mine. I said, Yuri, I have no time to do it, honestly. My best system of color correction to buy packs of whiskey to colorists, and everything is going to be fine. It works too.
Yeah. But I mean, you had an intent when you were shooting it, so it'd be nice. I mean, at least for me, I want to have that intent carried through to the end, and not just leave it up to somebody else to create their own look. You know what I mean?
No, that's harsh.
Then why was I there in the first place?
I like this new term, calibrated iPhone. Did you think you'd be saying that 7 years ago? No.
No. Right.
Oh, no, but calibrate iPhone existing from 2000 or whatever, from first iPhone. I mean, but in any case, no, it was existing. And hello?
Yes, we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, there's a calibrate iPhones, calibrate iPads, and it is again the Gamma Dance did calibrate for setting. It's not an issue; it's a technical issue. Issue is how much do you care about your images. Recently, I was witness of conversation of one, let's say, old cinematographer, member of a known organization, and when student asked him, what is inspiring you to make images? For, I don't know what possess him to say, "Oh, my bills.
My
I have to
bills?
pay my bills."
Yeah, go,
Yeah.
go become a construction
I was-
worker.
Yeah. Wow, that's a shame.
Hey, and it was a shame. I was really was flashing myself. Huh? Young cinematographer asking him sincere question. And this guy is thinking, "Oh, hey, it's my bills or my mortgages and everything."
Yeah, this is an
Well,
art form.
It's
Right.
yes, it is. It is, and it was interesting question. Sometime I've been as a not born in the United States and know many other foreign cinematographers, which sometimes create questions. Why many cinematographers of successful cinematographers are foreign? And people start to say, "Oh, it's probably biased." No, it's not. It is in Europe, in other parts of the world. Cinematography is, and cinema is art.
Mm-hmm.
And traditionally, even now, more or less, cinematographer is the first below the line guy. He's still technician.
That's interesting.
In
'cause
mind
now he's a
of
laborer.
in mind, exactly, and he is in the mind not now. And thanks to, it started from '76 when it was a famous court case when what his name, cinematographer of Bergman, Newquist, was brought to the United States. It was a fight in the court.
That's
allowing to work.
That's such an interesting topic because we've talked about this, the difference between Europe and the USA. And I mean, and you can tell me if you think this is wrong, but many films in Europe are government funded. In small countries, like I know in Israel, they make 11 pictures a year, and in certain, so at that point, it isn't so much a business as it is here in the U.S. Yuri, what do you think about?
They can take the liberties then?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
this
take
should
risks.
probably be our last topic as well. You guys
Oh,
are
okay.
probably about ready to pack it up.
Okay. Yuri.
Well, for a talent, way of funding of the film is not a factor. Yes, in Poland, in France, in Russia, in Ukraine, whatever, in many countries. Yes, people get money from government. So what? It doesn't matter. As cinematographer, I have no idea where money came from. But if I educated and told and adhere to ideas that cinematography is art, I don't care where money came from. It's art. Mm-hmm. Or listen, a lot of independent movies here financed by private party, and so it does make them different. Right. If cinematographer is not artist, it will look the same as a studio film. Sorry, it doesn't matter. No matter what, who put money in it.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just to maybe end this up, let me ask a question that's a little more broad and maybe kind of encompasses everything. So really, is the role of the cinematographer now expanding because of technology or getting smaller? It might depend on the level of production it is, but in general, it seems like it's getting bigger because of all the other technical needs and things like that. What do you think?
Okay, true is usually in the middle. Traditional cinematographers are shrinking. Expanded cinematographers, which we call them, or director of imaging, they're expanding because they became not only director of imaging, but basically became image makers. And we know a lot of people who are already feel the shoe. They became supervisors in some sense of image creation. They supervise this crew, supervise that crew, and because they know what image is supposed to look like. And prototype of the future of cinematography could be cinematography in video games. I have two students who work on the biggest game in the world, God of War. One was DP, one was the virtual cinematographer. And what they're doing, it is a prototype. It's basically Avatar in some sense, but with mix of a lot of different things. So they created images from idea to beginning to the last touch in the post with new technology.
Are you petitioning the Academy?
And so this is one of the direction of.
Go on, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Well, I was wondering, is anybody petitioning the Academy to redefine this concept? Like, you remember when we were at Haskell's house and he said I had the last Academy Award for black and white cinematography when they used to have two categories, black and white cinematography and color cinematography. But at this point, are you or anybody petitioning the Academy to create an award
For cinematography that's not only live action?
Image? No, like he said, you're not really a director of photography anymore. You're a director of
Images, right? Whether they're live action or not. Right?
Yeah.
Well, it is. We've been talking about it a lot in ASC. I don't think it came to Academy in any form or shape because it's, as usual, as everything in this town, is a political issue. Because a lot of people maybe don't feel comfortable about changing. Because when we introduced director of imaging, it was a lot of debates, very hot debates, because people feel I'm a DP, I'm a AC member now, and don't touch me, don't shake me.
Really?
Okay? I understand this point of view, and I understand this point of view.
Well, I mean, a lot of the people, I mean, you have to admit, when we go to the summer bash, you know, we're the youngest people there and we're in our mid-50s. So, you know, a lot of people don't probably want to understand that. That's what I was saying earlier. It's like you and Velmush kind of, we're not the youngest people at the ASC to kind of come out and say, look, this world is changing and we're going to adopt all of these new changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, last year I did presentation at Camera Marsh about future of cinematography. We have big panel, okay? First things I asked, how many people above 40 in audience of like 400 people? 5 people. How many people playing games? 90%. How people, it is changing, but people sometimes put themselves in ostrich position and pretend don't see it. I remember when I did gamma intensity and set correction, people say, how? What is this? Why are you doing it? Same people saying about expensive cinematography. We all find this old order, why we need something new. It's normal.
Wow.
But no, absolutely, it's normal. And don't forget, from other side, cinematography is one of the most conservative profession. It's very often based on status quo. I remember my teacher, Professor Guy Perrin, who was assistant at Metropolis with Freund, DP. He told me, Freund tell him, and he told me, cinematographer is never a groom, it's always a bride, which described very well what cinematography is all about.
Wow, Yuri, we are going to have you on again because, I mean, Jens and I, we could just talk to you for hours, but I want to do one more question where you explain to a young person. So there's a lot of young people out there with cameras, you know that. What is a piece of advice that you can give to them? And then we're going to wrap it up for today, but will you come again?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, what advice do you have for young people? Young DPs, yeah.
Young DP, to learn how to express themselves visually, to look more films, to look more photographs, best films. Try to see not what kind of cable or zoom or dolly was used, but how people reach such a profound feeling that image you see relates to the story. Mm-hmm. And you left not indifferent to the story. And then doesn't matter what technology you're going to be using. It's like people saying, what is available lights? Available lights is light available on a truck today. It's available light. So.
There you go. I heard, who just said that? Somebody just said that to us. He goes, what lights are available to me? Whatever's on the truck. But when you were speaking, I thought of one shot. This is the shot I thought of. You know when you go in Woodland Hills and at Panavision and you look at the wall, what is that image on that wall? It's probably the most iconic image that relates to the scene. And you know what I'm talking about, Yuri?
I know it used to be a lot of photographs of famous still photographer.
That's the George Curels. I'm talking about that if you really look at the wall in the waiting room there is a very diffuse image from David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia. That to me, that shot for like 5 minutes where you see the heat of this
Yes. It's the image of the mist of mirage when this guy coming back to help somebody. Yeah.
I think that could explain everything that you've been talking about
that told the whole story in itself. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
That image, if you didn't have that 4-minute image, that movie would be
different, certainly.
Less.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Absolutely. Agree 100% because this is called art of cinematography.
Exactly.
Great way to end.
Yeah, great way to end. Yuri, this was just such an honor and pleasure to have you on our show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and let's talk again about something else.
We will, for
or
sure.
the same.
There's plenty.
No, it's endless. Okay, Rachel, we're going to put it back to you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This was a really fun show. And thank you to ICANN, who provide the lighting for our show, and to our sponsor, Rode. Next week, we will have a special Halloween edition. We will all be learning special effects, bruise, and wound makeup with Michael Spatola from Cinema Makeup School. So we will see you there next Wednesday at 11. Bye-bye.